Rules of Survival, Episode 3, and in this episode, we're going to take a look at some of the in-game settings that you can choose from, talk about what they do, what they don't do, what works, what doesn't work, and so we're going to get into this here. So you see in the bottom right-hand corner, there's the little settings gear icon, so we can click on that to get those settings open. And take a look at some of these settings. So you get basic settings here. These are kind of self-explanatory: music, sound effects, mic volume. The only one here that I had a question about kind of originally was the power saving mode. And so if you turn that on or off, it will actually dim. If it's on, it'll dim the screen if you kind of remain idle on the menu screen or whatever. Kind of save some power. It's up to you if you want to use it or not. Your battery will probably die faster if you idle a lot. If you don't, then there's not really a whole lot of need to use it. So, no. And great, I get an invite while I'm trying to record this video here. So if we look at some of the control settings, you get your vertical, horizontal sensitivity, which I know a lot of people into shooters like to control. You get your vehicle driving sensitivity, you get your scope sensitivity, things of that nature. You have the eye icon, vertical and horizontal. Then we have scope settings. So you have the traditional setting, and then you have press the scope setting, and we'll look at those. You also have 3 different vehicle control settings. You have comfort mode, sports mode, and you have the D-pad style mode that's down here as well. And I'm gonna give you examples of what all of those look like in this video. If we look at the advanced settings, these are controller settings. So you have classic mode. Over there you have advanced mode, and you have touchscreen mode. Over on the left we have 3D touch and aim assist. I think 3D touch is just for the iPhones. I don't have an iPhone, so I don't know what it does. And aim assist it kind of snaps you to a target. It's not perfect, and at some point you should probably get away from that. And then you have double tap to turn around. We'll play with that setting a little bit and show you what that does in the game as well. So we'll go ahead and turn that on here and test it out. And then so there's classic mode, which gives you a fire button on just the right side. There's advanced mode, and then there's tap screen. So all right, so now we're going to take a look at the advanced mode. This is kind of the default mode that it starts you on. The only setting that we change from how it defaults is the tap to turn, and you see me doing that here. In the advanced mode, you have the joystick, and you have a fire button on the left and the right. You see now I'm tapping the right button, also tapping the left button. They both do the same thing. So the reason you want that is because if you're moving with the joystick, you use the button on the right. But if you're moving around with the eye icon, then it's nice to have the button over on the left free, because you're going to be using your right hand to move the eye icon. And so if that fire button over on the left isn't there, then you kind of got to use your thumb to fire while you're looking with the eye button. So let's try changing some of these settings here, and we'll look at what how it changes things. So we'll go to classic mode here next, and so you see here in classic mode you only have the button on the right. So you still have the tap to turn on, but now so if you're using your joystick, you have the fire button on the right. Eye icon, you don't have the button on the left with your free hand, so you kind of gotta thumb it. Use your right index finger to look with the eye icon, and then try and hit the fire button with your thumb. Not very comfortable for me, so I don't like that. Now let's take a look at touchscreen mode, see what touchscreen mode does for us. So this mode is going to give you just a joystick, no fire buttons at all. You're just going to tap the screen. So you see here I have my joystick, I can move around, and then I just basically tap anywhere on the screen and punch. I can hold down to just keep punching a lot. Okay, and now this time we're going to go ahead and jump into a game, show you some of the other settings like the scope settings and things like that we actually need to be in a match for. So trying to find a scope right now. We're going to go get the scope here, which, by the way, it took me like 20 minutes to actually find a scope in the game just for this video. I usually find scopes all the time, and when I wanted to record this, it took me like 20 minutes. So I'm going to go into a place to kind of hide and show the scope. So you see the little target button above the jump button. So if I tap on that, it takes me into the scope mode, and then tap on it again to get out of the scope mode. That's how that works. Now let's change the settings, and we're going to switch the vehicle to comfort mode and try that. I'm going to keep it on touchscreen. I kind of like the touchscreen personally. I tend to miss the fire button a lot while I'm trying to focus on my target and keep moving with the joystick. So I'm going to experiment with touchscreen personally. All right, so get in the car here, and then you see the joystick up goes forward, and then it kind of turns. It's a little more intuitive, except for you still have to turn the screen. So while you can turn the car, I don't know. I kind of like it and kind of don't, just because with the other mode you have forward and reverse, and then you're still turning the screen to turn the joystick. Turning your car gives you the sense that it's easier to control, but since it doesn't turn the screen for you, it's a little more difficult. Okay, now I got the D-pad. So you got the up and the down over on the left side, and you have the right and the left buttons over on the right side. For me personally, this is my absolute least favorite version to drive with. I don't like it. I don't mind the up and the down arrows because it's pretty much the same thing that you're doing with the joystick, but the left and the right arrows just they don't really work for me there. So not necessarily my favorite thing. So now a couple of things to touch on that you might be wondering about. There was the hold to scope option for aiming with the scope. You even saw me select it in the video, but I could never get it to work. I even sent in a bug report to the game because I would select the option. It would stay selected. When I go check my settings again, it would do it, but never. I spent probably a half hour running around trying to get it to work, trying to find a scope, first of all, and then it always gave me the scope icon. So I don't think that setting is working quite right just yet. So that is something for you to keep in mind there as well. So this was our episode on settings, and I hope you enjoyed it. And one other thing that I mentioned with the touchscreen, when I held down the touchscreen, he continued to punch, but I also could never get that to work with a weapon. So even if with the automatic rifle, put it on auto mode, touch the screen and hold down, it would never automatically fire. I had to rapidly touch the screen, which for me and my play style is not a bad thing. I am still going to fool around with touchscreen mode just to see how it feels, see if I like it. But if you like because I always put my rifles on single anyway. I don't like using the automatic fire and having it jump all over the place. So if you like the auto mode, then touchscreen's not going to be for you. Just at least if it didn't work for me in all of my attempts. I could never get it to the push and hold to get the automatic fire going. So it did work with punching, didn't work with the guns.